All right, so let's take a look at the upcoming balance changes. One of the bigger balance changes that we've seen in quite some time. I actually don't think they've ever had this many cards in a balance change before, have they? I don't think so. But the week's event, pretty typical. Get your cheesy poofs. No, nothing too fancy going on. Not even a guaranteed legendary. Lame. Anyway, let's check out the balance changes. So, oh, and also Scuzzlebutt, Kevin, Castle Defender. Oh, and that's it. I thought there was one more. And Castle Defender all are now going to be in full circulation. So PvP packs, lockers, event packs, everything. You'll be able to get these guys from. And now let's take a look at good old Mayor McDaniels. So Mayor McDaniels changes are really good. Like, there's nothing about this that I don't like. Her getting a decrease in health, I understand, because I always thought she kind of had a lot of health, and like it didn't really help her. You know what I mean? Like, her having more health didn't help her as a unit, because whether she had 400 health or 500 health or whatever it was, pretty much dies to the same shit anyway, right? So her getting a little bit less health, not a big deal, considering she's getting 50% increase on attack. And I've always thought that she was already a pretty decent ranger as far as her attack goes. So for that to be increased even further is really nice. And the time between her attacks, though, getting increased, so like her attack speed is lowered. So what that does is it kind of brings in line her DPS a little bit. Instead of her DPS going up by like 50%, her DPS is going up by like 30% or whatever. You know, just from those percentages. It's not actually her DPS, but and then her range increase is nice, because that 3.7 range, I think that's still new kid range, right? But 3.7 just keeps her away from the push a little bit. You know, harder to fireball, ink in, stuff like that. So that's good. Aggro range will be increased, and I said this earlier, but I don't think I've ever seen the South Park officially, like anything official, ever mention aggro range, ever. And so for them to actually say that they're increasing the aggro range is actually kind of interesting. And aggro range, if you didn't know what aggro range is, the aggro range, it's an aggro range multiplier. So basically, well, it's not, it's kind of weird. It depends on the card, but 4.2 to 5, that means like if you add the attack range of the card to that, that's like the distance that they'll reach out and like follow somebody. So if you look at like Nellie's aggro range was bonkers, because she could just like, she would track the whole field. Like she would chase somebody all the way across the map. Like, it was incredible. And then Frontier Bradley also has a really high aggro range, because he'll be like, if you put him in the corner, he'll walk his happy ass straight down to the people in the middle of the field instead of walking straight across, right? Manbear Pig is another one who will follow through aggro range. Most of the Cartman tanks, most tanks have a higher aggro range multiplier, because you want the tanks to seek out the enemy, right? And then a lot of assassins have a low aggro range. In most cases, it's 1, where they're not going to go after somebody unless they're in the range of that card. So if you're like a Hermes Kenny or something like that, you're not really going to go outside of your path to try to attack somebody. You're going to go only if they're in your attack range will you attack them. That's what it means when it's 1. Yeah, I agree. That seems like what they're doing with the range cards, to try to make them more, to try to have more with less health but more attack, which is typically what you kind of see in a range card. You know, in any game, it'd be kind of like a glass cannon sort of thing. The cards like Medusa, that's kind of a or like technically Satan's a range card. That's kind of a exception to the rule, right? Like, you typically range cards are glass cannons. You don't have a hugely strong range card unless the attack speed is very slow as well, because it kind of makes up for it, right? I don't think Medusa's an incredibly overpowered or strong card right now, even though she's got like a lot to her, right? She's very high health, good attack, but it's just so slow. And the obviously the snakes are a nice touch. But the biggest part of Mayor McDaniels, obviously, is the power duration. I don't remember if the duration scaled before. Someone would have to remind me. I didn't notice that before. But now it scales almost double throughout the levels 7. So it'll go from 7.5 at level 1, which is a lot already. Like, it went from 3 to 7.5, like 2.5. Like, that's pretty damn good. But then at 15 seconds at level 7, which means at level 6, it's probably like 13.5 or something like that. 12 maybe. That's a good amount. Like, if you pause, like, even if it's level 5 and let's say it's 10 seconds, if you pause Stand and Many Moon's charge for 10 seconds, I mean, it removes it too, right? And then it stops it for 10 seconds. Like, Stand and Many Moons is not getting his ability off. Like, he is not getting his ability off after that. So that's going to be really useful now. And now that she's actually a useful unit, you know, you can put her behind, you know, whatever, you know, Pocahontas or whatever it might be. Might work out pretty well. Mosquito. This is an interesting change because Mosquito is a fairly strong card in most arenas, but I think their last change to Mosquito was kind of heavy-handed, at least for Mosquito's stats itself. So I kind of like what they're doing here. Mosquito's body itself will get a little bit better, and then the Mosquito swarm is going to change to be a little bit more of a glass cannon as well. It's going to have more of an attack, so each time it attacks, it will heal Mosquito more, but he attacks slower. So I don't hate that, because it's the idea of, like, if you have lifesteal on an attack, do you want quick weak attacks or do you want strong slow attacks? And typically I would say you would want a strong slow attack, because then every time you heal or every time you hit, you're getting healed, and like you have to take the hits to heal, right? So like if your attack is too quick and you're healing when you're already max health, then you get a big chunk of damage and you're not gonna be able to heal it back before the next chunk of damage, right? But I don't think that's gonna really change much about him. The only thing that'll really change is it'll be easier to kill the swarm with a range card. You might be able to like kill him straight up with a Timmy instead of Timmy knocking it back and killing it, you know? So there might be different things. And then the Inuit change is going to be the biggest change out of all of this stuff, and the most impactful to an extent. But it's really interesting that it now works on New Kid, and it also works on totems and objects. So it will now kill totems obviously, and objects, it's meaning like the tower. So if the tower kills him, it'll kill the tower now. And then if New Kid kills him, it'll be 100 damage, and that's at level 1. We don't know for sure if it will scale or not. I imagine it will scale, because if you look at the damage, 500 damage at level 1 is pretty fucking good. 500 damage at level 1 is really fucking good. 100 damage to New Kid at level 1, still pretty good. But 500 damage at level 5? 100 damage at level 5? It doesn't really make any sense. So it has to scale. So my guess is, based on the scaling of Unholy Combustion, where level 6 Unholy no longer kills like Man Bear Pig, Grand Wizard Cartman, stuff like that. My guess is at level 5, Inuit will do a couple thousand damage, like 2,000 even, maybe even. So like level 2 is 1,000, level 3 is 1,500, level 4 is 2,000, level 5 is 2,500, level 6 is 3,000, something like that. Might be just that simple. And then for New Kid damage, I don't think we'd see 200 damage, because that's like half a bar pretty much, right? So I think the max damage will be 180 damage for New Kid damage. So it might be 100 level 2, 110, 3, 120, that kind of thing. I don't think it's going to be a lot. It could surprise me, and they could have like 20 damage per level maybe. So 120 on level 2, 140, 50, 6, 200 by level 5. I could see that maybe. Or it could be like actually like a not a linear scale. It could be level 1 is 500 damage, level 2 is 700 damage, level 3 is 1200 damage, level 4 is 2000 damage. Like we don't know. Level 1 is 100, 2 is 12, or 120, 3 is 150. Like who knows? But his attack will be decreased by 11 from 92 to 82. Now that won't really matter though, because his health will be increased or will be decreased, which is good because that lets him die quicker, right? But he's getting a 25% increase in his attack speed. That's really good. So his DPS, even though his attack is decreasing, his DPS is still increasing by 20%, which is a lot. For an assassin that already hit pretty fucking hard, like I could kill, sometimes I would, like if you played it right, you could pretty much kill Maxi and not even have to have him die to the Inuit because you already took away like 4,000 of his health. Like he's already almost dead. You don't even have to use the Inuit ability, but you still get it because he dies, right? So with that amount of DPS that he'll be able to do, and the thing about that is, if you get that on New Kid, a couple quick hits on New Kid and New Kid kills it and takes damage, that's gonna be sick. I'm excited for that. So I think he'll be better overall. This is kind of like, Inuit, or this is like Incan and well, I guess just Incan, where he's and Call Girl. That's what I was thinking. Incan and Call Girl. I think both of those were nerfed. They were nerfed for shitty dog shit players, and they were buffed for people who know how to play the fucking cards, because Call Girl has way more DPS than ever, and if you're a good player, it doesn't matter if she can get hit by New Kid or not. She won't get hit by New Kid, right? And the same goes for Incan. If you can have Incan survive, he is much more of a threat now than he ever was. I don't care if Incan has fucking 500 extra health. Incan has double the attack he used to have. Incan one-shots most assassins. Incan is a goddamn nightmare now. And if Incan gets on New Kid with half health right now, he's more of a threat to take a bar than Incan with full health previously. Think about that. And nobody realizes that. And that's the same exact thing that'll happen with Inuit Kenny. People will think, oh, I can't play him anymore because I can't use my level 1 Inuit Kenny to kill level 5, 6 element Randy anymore. But I can use Inuit Kenny to kill the enemy tank in a moment. And then he's streaking towards New Kid, alive and well, ready to fuck. Ready to fuck. Just like Narita on a Friday night. And what are they going to do when they have Inuit coming at them? They can't let New Kid deal with it because it could chip them to death. So they have to play a card that's going to now die or just take a bunch of damage. I mean, even if it's 1,000 damage, even if it ends up being 1,000 damage, that's a lot of damage. That's more than an Incan Blast. If you 1,000 damage hit a Sizzler, if you can't deal with that fucking card after you do 1,000 damage to it, then what the hell? What the hell? Like, you have 1 less energy. Your card was 3 energy. It's like Unholy Combustion. Earlier, I used Unholy Combustion level 5 on a Grand Wizard level 5. Didn't quite kill him. He had like a sliver of health left. But it actually helped me because Grand Wizard stayed alive and he couldn't just pope it back immediately. So it actually helped me be able to gain the energy that I needed to snipe the Pope that he then tried to do when the Grand Wizard Cartman died, and then I sniped the Pope with Lightning Bolt. It was fantastic. It was beautiful. But if you can't deal with the Man-Bear Pig after you deal 95% damage to it, what? Like, that, the card's 2 cost less. You should be able to come up, play hamsters on him and kill him. Like, it's not that hard. So Inuit's going to be very good. Inuit's going to be very good. Inuit plus Warboy. a speed boosted Inuit coming at you. So you gotta like make that decision fast on what card you're gonna lose. Basically, that's tough. All right, War Hero Ned. Health increased by 7, attack increased by 8. Good buff. Just got him to 4 on the adventure lock. Health increase, needed it because he was just so easy to kill. Like a level 7 War Hero Ned died to a level 5 Hanky in one shot. And that might still happen, but like that's a problem, right? The attack increasing, I don't think he needed to have an attack increase. He already has pretty long range, and that does pretty well. And most of the time he's going to get stacked with Jimbo, right? So, what up, Valkyrie? So, I don't know. Warboy tweak level 4 Inuit? Yes. Inuit buff sounds to make Adventure Lock spend money, because instead of being only cancel adventure, he's now a chip card. Yeah, but like, he's still going to kill people. Like, he's not going to do 500 damage. Like, there's no way. There's no way he'll do 500 damage. There's just no way. It's just like Unholy. Everyone was up in arms saying, oh, Unholy's dead. It only does 1,000 damage. And then a day later, they realize they're a fucking boner. Anyway, all right, Hunter Jimbo. His buff now lasts for 15 seconds rather than being permanent. Very interesting change. Very interesting change. So Hunter Jimbo attacks every 1.9 seconds. So let's round it up to 2, make it a little easier. Let's make it 14 seconds to make it a little easier, right? So every 7 hits, that's when you can only ever stack 1 unit 7 hits now. It will never get higher than that. Now, 7 hits is still a lot of fucking attack. They didn't affect the bonus, so it's still like 30 something. They could still have 200 extra attack. That is plenty. He's still going to be very strong. But what this is going to prevent is one unit from getting up to 400. But 2, if you boost 1 unit and then boost another unit, eventually that other unit, even if Hunter Jimbo's still hitting, that other unit will lose the boost, the buff, whatever. And so what I did when I was playing it was, instead of boosting 1 person to like 500, I tried to boost a bunch of people to like 100 or 200 because it's much harder to deal with that. You know, they can target more things. You can't remove just 1 unit and get rid of the whole attack buff. So it's just definitely better. But now, as you do that, you'll slowly lose the original buff. So if you have Hunter Jimbo attacking the whole time, when you get to the 7th attack, you'll see 1 attack buff will disappear. And at the same time, though, Jimbo will attack again. So that buff will disappear like at the same time as he's getting a new one. So it'll stick at like, it'll go from like 200 boost to 236 boost to 200 boost to 236 boost to 200 boost to 236 boost. There'll be a 2-second interval where that will change back and forth as Jimbo attacks and the 15-second timer rolls away. So what the biggest thing for this, I would say, is that this is going to limit you from being able to use Hunter Jimbo on defense and then use that push to just obliterate the counter push, right? Like, that's an impossible thing to deal with. If you have a Jimbo who's pretty much full health still with Sharon behind him with 300 attack, there's no way you can fucking deal with that. And you have to remove Hunter Jimbo, and he's 4 cost, so it's just like terrible, right? So the stack is like, it's like Grand Wizard Cartman. You hit it, 15 seconds later, that stack will disappear. It doesn't, nothing else matters. Nothing else that happens matters. When that stack happens, no matter what Jimbo does, if he dies, if he attacks, no matter what happens, that 15-second stack is there. So it's just like every time he hits, he does a Grand Wizard Cartman, or not Grand Wizard, a Gunslinger Kyle boost, basically. If you do the Gunslinger Kyle boost with Santa and do him twice, you'll see the one land, the next one will land, and it'll double it, and then you'll see the other one tick off, and you'll see the other one disappear, because then they don't like reset each other, basically. There's a card called Dar. What? Dar. It's not called Dar. It's 15 seconds after. It's 15 seconds from the moment you get it. Like, the moment you get it. So when if Jimbo only attacks 1 time and gets removed, that unit will have that boost for 15 seconds, and then it'll disappear. If Jimbo attacks 7 times and then dies, they'll have the max stack that they could get, and then every 15-second interval, which, well, it would be a 2-second interval because that's Jimbo's attack. So every 2 seconds, you're adding another 15-second thing. So when Jimbo dies, 15 seconds after he dies, there will be no boost on the field anymore. In fact, it would be like 13 seconds or whatever. And so then once Jimbo dies, if you have someone that has like 200 attack, 2 seconds roll by, 1 stack disappears. 2 seconds roll by, the other stack disappears. And it would just slowly disappear. So it'd still be good, but it won't be as punishing for as long, which I think is really smart. This is similar to what they did with Space Pilot, because Space Pilot doesn't have a consistent buff anymore. It's just the stun on the moment, so it's kind of nice. Let him finish the stack and Dharm again. Exactly, yeah, that'll work, exactly. It's like every match. She was almost taking out one of my... Dude, Nellie's so funny. Okay, so I don't get this. And the only thing I can think... So they're doing this same change to all the area of effect attacks. Nelly, Manbear Pig, Super Craig are the only area of effect attacks, except for Jimbo. Jimbo has it, but they're not going to touch Jimbo's attack. Like, it doesn't make sense to affect the range of a gun. Like, the range of a gun is the max range. But what they're doing, and I didn't really realize this until right now, what they're doing, her area attack is the same, right? That's not going to change. What they're doing is, and that's the same here, area attack remains the same, area attack remains the same. What they're doing is they're preventing Super Craig from being able to attack New Kid from his full attack range away. Instead, now Super Craig and Manbear Pig and Nelly will have to be closer before they start attacking. But when they attack, they'll still do the same. They'll still do the same range. So Super Craig will have to get closer to New Kid before he can attack New Kid. But when he attacks New Kid, his cone will reach past New Kid. Does that make sense? Same with Manbear Pig. Manbear Pig right now, the biggest problem with is that when you get him onto New Kid, he starts attacking New Kid from like this far away, right? Because that's his full range of his AoE cone. But now his range will be this, so he'll have to actually walk up to here. And so now to attack New Kid, he'll be like on top of New Kid, using his AoE on top of New Kid. And now when you try to defend against New Kid, Manbear Pig won't hit you because he'll be closer to New Kid. His cone will be closer to the tower. So when you put somebody around the tower, he won't get hit by Manbear Pig anymore, because Manbear Pig will have to be closer to the tower to attack, and then his attack will hit behind New Kid though. So you don't put stuff behind New Kid to defend from Manbear Pig anymore, because Manbear Pig will hit behind New Kid now. And that's the same with Super Craig, and that's the same with Nelly. If Nelly's gonna attack the rat has to be right next to her now, instead of being able to spin to the rat right away. And that actually might help, because when you have rats coming at Nelly, when she can attack at the peak of it, she doesn't kill all the rats at once. She has to attack the rats twice if they're coming at her, because her first spin kills the first 2, the second spin kills the second 2. But if she has to wait until they're closer, her first attack will kill all 3 of them. So this might be sneakily a buff, because it's a nerf to an extent because you can't acquire that target as quickly. So Manbear Pig won't be as scary on New Kid anymore, because he will have to walk a full 1 unit further in order to attack the New Kid, which is going to be great. So I kind of get that change now. I didn't understand it at first, but I totally understand it now. I guess it will affect aggro range also, though. I don't think so. Well, no, yes, because aggro range is a ratio of the current range. So you might be right. But yeah, that'll definitely... That's interesting. I don't hate that. Easier to make him turn back around. Well, he'll... Yeah. Easier to make him untarget New Kid after like the bar gets hit, because when New Kid takes the, or when Manbear Pig takes the bar, he gets knocked back just ever so slightly, just enough to make him reacquire a target. Like he's no longer in the range of New Kid, and he'll reacquire a target. So now that'll be true even more. Like if he gets knocked back and you put a unit between them, he'll start attacking that unit instead of New Kid. But he is a little bit closer to New Kid now, so the knockback, he's gonna be closer than he was previously, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that question. Will spinning make her dizzy though? Shut the fuck up. Yeah, because your range and your area of attack are two separate things. So your area of attack is here, but your range is here. So you have to be closer to start your attack, but when you start your attack, it's gonna reach through your target, which might be good. It might be good. It is a smart change though, and it's smart for them to do it to all of the area of effect cards at once. But like I said, I don't think it makes sense for Jimbo because he's a range card. Like he is a tank, but he's a range card, right? What are we looking at? But yeah, Super Craig is getting touched. Not only is his area of attack changing, like we were saying, decrease the range by 56, but it stays the same. So that means instead of Super Craig being able to hit New Kid from all the way out here, he'll have to get this close. But then the cone will still happen. And it might be hit behind New Kid, so it could be good maybe, I don't know. But then he's lowering his attack, but then also increasing his attack speed. So, or I mean like increasing it as in like bad. Attack speed is such a weird thing, because when I talk about increasing my attack speed, I think about attacking faster. But this is time between attacks, not attack speed. So so when it's going up, it means the attack is actually going down. So the attack itself is decreased by a little bit. And I get that. Like it's an AoE attack. It shouldn't have as much health. I get that. Or as much as like, I mean, he hits as hard as like Program Stand does. It doesn't make any sense. And then it being longer makes sense because it is kind of a brutal hit when he hits you with it, right? Like the knockback and everything, it's kind of brutal. His DPS will be decreased by 23%. I mean, that's kind of a lot. But he is probably just just murdering lower levels. Like I bet he's just murdering lower levels. And then the range decrease, like we said. And then Professor Chaos, I don't hate this at all. I think Professor Chaos was just a little bit too good because he already has a stun, which is the best assassin ability out there probably. I don't think anything beats that. And so he's already got the most impactful ability of any assassin. I mean, maybe General Disarray, maybe. But and then on top of that, he had some of the best stats of any assassin. He attacked quicker than every other assassin, and he had more attack than most other assassins. You can see there, attack 82, health 77. Most assassins are like health 77, attack 77. So he had just more attack. And DPS down by like 4%. Not going to impact him at all. Maybe every once in a while there'll be something he doesn't kill that he normally would have killed. But the biggest thing here is that he's going to be more fair going up against assassins. So when he goes up against an enemy assassin, he's not always going to just beat that assassin. Like we've had so many times where our Chaos just kills one of his assassins, kills the next assassin, starts attacking New Kid. Like it gets crazy. And Mary Jane Randy, the attack range will be decreased. I agree with that one. 1.3 is still good. It's still a little bit longer than any of the other Randys, but it won't reach through the at least this is my assumption. I don't think it will reach through the plant completely anymore. He'll have to at least walk around the plant a tiny little bit, and then boom. I think Professor Chaos hurts because everyone uses him. He was the best superhero card. Yeah, I think he'll be just fine. Like you won't even notice it, I don't think. And then Dr. Timmy, this is something that I had noticed before, where if you pick Dr. Timmy up, nothing will walk underneath him. You'll still walk around him, which isn't a big deal, but in a couple moments, it can be detrimental because, like, the idea of it would be to lift him up and then the other units go underneath him, so then you can start hitting those units. That's kind of the idea. They need to buff Satan, bigger war cry, whole board, more health, faster attack speed. Jesus. I hope you're joking. I used him as my Dougie counter. Yep. I use him to when when Mecha gets midline, I use him on the Mecha because he can't kill him in time because it takes like 2 hits and he attacks too slow. Plus I'm already on his ass because of the stun, and he can't mind control me and get me out of the way, right? So works pretty well. All right, well, let's check out how shitty people are. Should be fun. So does that mean every stack runs on a separate 15-sec timer? Yes. Or does the 15-second restart every time a new stack? I would not. If I cannot fathom that it would reset it. I mean, if you look at every other stack, every stack that has a timer, they're all independent of each other. Gunslinger, technically, hyperdrives are independent of each other, but they don't stack on top of each other. So it's just like your hyperdrive is as long as the second one. But if your first one's longer, it'll still do the full first one, right? It's like poison interrupts itself. Shields interrupt itself. If you poison something that's already poisoned, nothing happens. If you shield something that's already shielded, nothing happens. But with the timers, they don't restart. So I do not think that would be stupid. It would defeat the purpose. It would defeat the purpose if it just stayed there for 15 seconds every time a new stack applies. Anyway, does Inuit Death Wish scale with levels? I assume so, but we don't know for sure. Could you check the mission event total? Doesn't look right, as I have 8 rewards, not 5. That's true. Yeah, they're the bigger. It's the bigger one. Yeah, that must not be right. Again, the Call Girl Pope issue is completely ignored. Yeah, that kind of sucks. Killing other superhero cards just to make Pope Call Girl more necessary. I mean, not technically, considering one of the cards that got hit was one of the typical cards the Call Girl pulls in. So it's a subtle Call Girl nerf. Subtle. But yeah, I mean, yeah, she shouldn't be able to get poked. Like, very easy. Give her the Henrietta treatment. Very simple. What about CG, second war cries, etc.? Oh, Call Girl. Second war cries. I'm not sure what that means. They're always the war cries will always work again. If you get poked, if you get darred, if you get well, I guess Call Girl doesn't really count, but if you get poked or darred, the war cry will trigger again. That is the whole idea of it. Especially Dar. Like Dar's whole idea is to reset the Death Wish or the Death Wish or the war cry. That is like the only point. Like, I don't give a fuck if I'm just bringing Pocahontas Randy back just for his health. Like, that's not a good use of her. To get the value of that war cry again is almost always the best use of Dar, because the war cries in this game are fairly good. Like, they're fairly effective. Rip Inuit and rip my boy Professor Chaos. People saying rip because the stats changed 4%. Like, you're that pathetic of a fucking player that if one of your cards takes a 4% hit, you aren't gonna fucking play it anymore? That is so fucking pathetic. Also, rip Super Craig. I will say Super Craig's change much more impactful. You know, maybe not run Super Craig anymore. Maybe run Mosquito over Super Craig now, for sure. No one's taking fucking Professor Chaos out of their deck. I promise you that. I promise you that. Nerf CG and Pope Call, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Why not nerf Nelly range instead? They did. They did. They did. They did. That's what they did. Her range. Her range. What the fuck are you talking about? Good idea, Redlinks. You guys all doing I just think this is such a dumb way to think. They are not required to fucking listen to us. Do you understand that? We are not the best fucking game creators in the world. If every one of us had the choice, we would just make our fucking deck better and get rid of the bullshit cards that fuck up our deck, like Satan and Pope and Transmog, all that shit. Like, we're not the ones thinking about, oh, changing the way the AoE works. We're not the ones thinking about updating or changing chaos or changing fucking, like when they buffed Classy. Like, we're not gonna, no one in their right fucking mind is gonna sit there, spend time saying like, oh, buff Classy, buff these cards. No, they're thinking nerf this, nerf this, nerf this, because the only thing anyone cares about is the shit that fucks them up and that pisses them off. That's it. That's it. And so to think like they have to listen to the community, why? What fucking criteria? I can't think of it. What qualifications do you have to give a good, unbiased opinion on the game? What is it? Because nobody has an unbiased opinion on save super whales that have all cards available. Like, for me, I don't give a fuck what they do to any card because I can play any card that exists. I don't care. I'm not somebody who has one deck with one amount of leveled cards, and if they change 2 of my cards, my deck gets fucked. No, none of us are, though. None of us are that pigeonholed into our decks because we've been playing for so long that we have a lot of stuff upgraded. I mean, if you're new, obviously that's an issue. They nerf the card that you just spent 8 months requesting to level 6. Oh well. But the thing is, it was too strong. It was too strong. I don't think I've ever seen them nerf a card that didn't like actually really need it. You know what I mean? They really haven't ever done it. They've buffed some cards that are like, what? What? But I don't think they've ever nerfed a card where it's like, yeah, I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they did that. Yeah. But that at the same time, a new person isn't that invested. So how mad can they really be? And if you knowingly requested a card that was currently one of the strongest cards, it's gonna change. Like, that's the nature of these types of games. And so if you do something like, that's your fault. That's your fault. That's why I always suggested buying every epic, not just the ones you care about, because someday you'll want all those epics upgraded. It won't matter. But no, I get that. I get that there's a feeling of unfairness if a card that you spent time, or especially money, gets changed. But at the same time, you bought a virtual thing that has never ever been said would be set in stone. So if you bought a card early while it was strong, like Jimbo, if you spent $100 to get Jimbo to 5, you didn't buy a boosted level 5 Jimbo. You bought the ability to use Jimbo at that level during that time period, and every time period after that. But if you did that specifically to play Jimbo and only play him when he's really fucking strong, that's your fault. Like, that's not Red Lynx's problem for nerfing a card that clearly needs to be nerfed. Like, I don't think there's anybody in the game that thinks that Jimbo is good. And if you believe that, you are biased, and that is why Red Lynx doesn't fucking listen to you. Because Jimbo needed to be changed. 100,000%. But you can't get mad because you bought him. You know what I mean? Like, that's gonna happen. But the thing is, they've never really nerfed I don't think they've ever nerfed a card into like absolute non-existence. I mean, you even see Dar every once in a while, and Dar is much harder to use now. But I don't think they've ever nerfed a card and then I just never see that card ever again. I don't think that's happened. And unless some of you can say something, but I can't think of anything that they changed that's like, oh, never using that card again. Never played Jimbo because he's broken, yet here I am playing Satan from time to time. LOL. Yeah, and some people will just like not play it because it is like they don't think it's fun to play a too strong card. I get that. That's how I feel about like like games like League of Legends kind of thing where you pick a champion, I always hated being like the strongest champion, because then I felt like, am I doing this, or is just this broken ass champion doing this? You know what I mean? I think the Mayor McDaniel's notes are missing some words. Yeah, I noticed that too. Did they fix that? Yeah, they fixed that, because it was like by 6% or something like that. Like there was this, the first part of one of them was missing. I can't remember what it was. I think it was this one. It was just like, will be increased by 20%. But yeah, they got that figured. They got it sorted. Also, why did you bother asking us for feedback on the post last month for balance changes we would like to see if the team had no intention of implementing any of them? So this guy fucking thinks that you asked for feedback on the post last month, and you think that stuff from that would get through the development cycle in a month? Are you fucking insane? Do you know what the process of just getting something into the development process could take fucking 2 months? Just getting to the point where, yes, that's something we want to do, could take 2 fucking months. To say that my suggestion that I said a month ago should be in the game now is the most tone-deaf, asinine fucking thing I've ever seen. And this guy doesn't get the pleasure of me reading the rest of his stupid fucking comment. What was the point of nerfing Nelly, by the way? I don't think it's not a nerf. I wouldn't consider it a nerf. And in a way, it might be a buff. Because think about the fact that, like, when Nelly attacks, she pushes people back. Think how many times you pushed back a range card out of your range and then had to walk your happy little ass next to it. Now, they might be close enough where you won't have to do that. Where you won't have to walk to him after you knock him. You can just keep fucking smacking him. I don't know. We'll see. Nelly, no. Oh, no, not Nelly. That's the thing, though. People don't like, it's not a nerf. Not even a nerf. Hey, Ubi Toller, could you also ask if the Nelly, Manbear Pig, Super Craig range changes are actually impacting the card? What? It seems like they're trying to match the range of the card with their intended AoE. No. God damn it. No. That is not what's happening. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. Well, okay. He's not wrong there. From gearing up for an AoE attack before something stepped inside its area range. But it wasn't attacking before it got to the AoE range. It was attacking when it got to the max of the AoE range, which was the card's range. So when they set the AoE card's ranges, they set them to the max of the AoE range. So Manbear Pig 2, Super Craig 1.3 or whatever it is. Now they're cutting that in half, basically, so that your unit has to be actually close to them in order to start the attack. It kind of makes sense. The point arguing is she still sucks ass. Yeah, but I do think she'll kill rats in one hit now when they're coming at her. I think it might actually help her. Gnomes too. Gnomes 1 would survive. Hard to tell if it's a straight nerf or more so fixing the intended interaction of the AoE. Yeah, that's definitely what it is. It's definitely not a nerf. Nothing changes. So how can it say nothing changes in the AoE and then say it's a nerf? Polar, please have a look into the Nelly change. This has to be some kind of misunderstanding. No, it's just a change in the AoE stuff. It's easy. It's simple. No one complained about Inuit. Oh, yes, they fucking did. Do you have any idea how infuriating it is to have a level 7 card die to a level 1 Inuit? If you don't think that's an issue, you're wrong. It's just the same as UC, though. It's the same as Space Pilot, the same as the same thing they did with Fantasy Bradley. They're taking the abilities and making them scale so that any card that has just like a broken ass ability will have some sort of scaling now. Will they do that for every card? Maybe not. But that's clearly what they're trying to do because they did it with other cards already. As usual, devs turned a legendary card into less than common practically. No. That is just so... That is so impossibly stupid to think that. You increase his fucking DPS by 20% and you're gonna tell me that he's less than a common? The amount of damage that he will put out versus Scout Ike, not Scout Ike. Scout Ike is the one that will be fairly close. But like Smuggler Ike or fucking Sally? Are you kidding me? Okay. This guy is clearly a fucking idiot, and nobody should ever fucking listen to this idiot. Nothing's wrong with Call Girl Pope. What a fucking moron. What an absolute, complete, dumb piece of shit. And it makes sense now that he doesn't understand why Inuit was changed, because he clearly doesn't understand the game at all. He doesn't have any fucking idea. Any idea. It's a game and everyone in these forums should let others have fun. Go fuck yourself. It's not fun to go against that. There's nothing fun about that. Man Bear Pig, just why Nelly? It's because am I the only fucking person that realized what that change was? That it was just a change to how they target? Am I the only fucking person that realized that? Jesus. I'm all for the balance changes. They help balance a new card and can also bring cards that are not played often back. I mean, that's true with Inuit Kenny, like all those big cards, much more difficult, but it still should kill him. However, nerfing a card by 95% seems like daylight robbery, but it's not. It's because you're. I want to fucking punch somebody in the face. Just like Unholy Combustion. How can you go through Unholy Combustion and not think, oh, this is gonna fucking scale? How can you not think that this is gonna fucking scale? It has to. It has to. I'm happy about the amount of changes that you guys are doing. Well, that's a good point there in itself. Other games that I play, nothing changes. And when they do an update, it's like a couple cards get a couple percentage point changes, and it's 2 of them. I am all for continuous support of a game like this, and if you don't like this, what are you talking about? You want them to update your game. Would you prefer it to be the same as it always was? You're using the same bullshit broken ass cards over and over again? No. The game's never been better. The game's never been better. When you look at the top 1,000 decks, there are 4 decks that are like 20% used. It used to be there were 2 decks that were 50% used. It was, at the time, I think it was Mystic Sci-Fi and Sci-Fi Fantasy. That was the only shit that people played. And it was literally like 40% of decks and 40% of decks, and then 10% of decks were other shit. And now, Adventure Sci-Fi is 20%, Mystic Sci-Fi is 20%, Superhero Sci-Fi is 18%. Like, it's never been more spread out as far as like overall balance goes. It's never been better. And it's because they're making decisions that you dipshits on the forum never fucking thought of. Ridiculous. I played a game called Narcos, and when they nerfed big cards that people spend a lot of money on, they refunded the money, the green cash, in-game cash. Well, yeah, that's something that some games do. Like with Hearthstone, you can dust cards and get their stuff back. And if they change a card, you can dust it back for its full amount. So like if I dust a card that costs 100 to make, I get 50 back. But I could dust the card for full cost, so then I could then buy a full cost card. So let's say they nerfed Slime Belcher or whatever the fuck it was. I can't use that card anymore in my deck because it's just not strong enough. I want to use this other card, but I don't have it. I can uncraft that card and craft the new card to replace it. It's an option. I would never do something like that because I'm a collectionist at heart, and like it would hurt my soul to like get rid of a card. It would hurt my soul, which is why I'm glad we couldn't like trade cards and shit. Yeah, I'm glad we could never do that. But yeah, the game's really good now. But Hearthstone does let you do that. Other games have some sort of thing similar to it, but most games there is absolutely nothing like that. There's no consideration like that because it's understood and it's in the terms and fucking conditions, and it's highlighted in your fucking arbitration agreement that you can't sue them because of this. There is always going to be changes. There's always going to be changes. Always. Hearthstone used to do something similar. They gave you a bunch of mats to make new cards. Yeah, exactly. You can dust it. So play sci-fi. I got you. Yeah, sci-fi is just so good. Mecha, super consistent. Mind control is pretty good. Enforcer, space pilot or space warrior, very good. And then Sizzler is just so good. 6 element Randy, fairly good too. Just a lot of options. And giving people in-game cash doesn't necessarily mean anything anyway. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because if you give me, like, because you can't translate that money into something useful, right? So if you kill my a legend card in my deck, giving me even 1,000 cash doesn't help me at all. Giving me even 10,000 cash doesn't necessarily help me. They didn't nerf Nelly, Oni. They just changed AoEs. Only 2 changes I really like are Mayor and MJR. I think they're all kind of make sense, honestly. Even if I don't agree with them, at least things are changing. Yeah, that's fine. And that gets the game less boring. Yeah, I like that. Changing up the meta, changing up what you'll see. I like that. But we need more quality of life changes. I agree. We definitely need a practice with our ladder levels. And we definitely need the ability to friendly fight people outside of your team. Whether that's with a code or with a friends list or whatever it would have to be, that would be really nice. Because it makes, Super Craig makes sense. Yeah, LaForce, it makes sense because in ranks 2,000 to 6,000, 90% of people play Super Craig. The game is more than just you, buddy. Expand your horizons a little. Start a new account and see how much you hate fucking Super Craig. Inuit Kenny isn't legendary anymore, just a rare card. LOL. What is this? Dude, you guys spending too much time on this. Too much time on this. His power damage will be decreased. His power will work on totems. What are you doing? What is power damage? It was how much damage... What? Starts off as a nerf and ends as a buff? What? What are you talking about? Kenny can kill Castle and does damage to new kid buff. Attack nerf, nerf. Health nerf, nerf. But with faster attack, buff. DPS up, buff. Are you confused at how math works? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you confused at the fact that they could possibly buff one aspect of it and nerf another aspect? Is that a difficult concept for you to grasp? You mean aggro range? No, he means actual range. Your actual range. The range that you will decide to attack them. Aggro range is when you decide to acquire the attack, which means when you'll start walking towards them. That's your aggro. That is when you have been aggroed onto it. Aggro is a word that is a specific thing. To be aggroed onto something is to be focused onto that thing. You are not aggroed onto somebody until they are in your range, your aggro range. That has nothing to do with when you will attack them. When you will attack them is your range. All this is saying is that Man Bear Pig will have to take one more fucking step before he can attack you. And then his attack will still do the same damage that it did every time, except you'll be one fucking unit closer to your target. How is that difficult to fucking understand? And it's not a buff, it's a nerf. It's a nerf. How would decreasing your aggro range even become a buff? How would you say that that's a buff? Even if this was increasing your aggro range or decreasing it, how would decreasing his aggro range affect him at all? He's fucking huge. Every unit is gonna come to him. He doesn't have to go to the fucking units. God damn it. God damn it. Anyway, Hunter Jimbo, his buff now lasts for 15 seconds. Should be permanent for Ned. Ooh. This goddamn moron's got a good idea. That's interesting. Like, have just a special interaction with Ned where Ned gets full stacks from Jimbo and they never go away. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. It has its buff sides, like giving Witch Doctor a chance to hurt him now. Yeah. Yeah, Witch Doctor will actually be able to use his ability now. He might be able to hit targets behind New Kid now. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier too. Yeah, exactly. He'll be able, like, if you have a range card behind a tank, right behind a tank, Manbear Pig will actually walk up to the tank and attack behind you now. So it could be a buff in that sense, but it is also a nerf when you're considering him getting onto New Kid, because it just takes him a little bit longer to get to New Kid, which means I have a little bit longer to put a card in between them, right? So if I'm waiting for that last energy to play the card, I'll have a little bit longer to do it. But doesn't really matter. Why on earth would you nerf one of the least used cards in the game? It's not a nerf. Not a nerf, Weldon! Nelly needs that range to attack well-defended archers on the halfway line. Yeah, but that hurts you because you're constantly having to walk over to the range card. Nelly should not be used against range cards, guys. She is a fighter and tank buster to hit them both at the same time. Or assassins too, around the tanks. She does not give a fuck about range cards. If you're playing Nelly to kill a range card, you're doing it wrong because Nelly fucking knocks him back and has to walk to him every time. The whole time getting blasted by the archer. It doesn't fucking work. It means that the Death Wish is changing from unconditionally killing a unit to damage 500, so a massive nerf similar to the, but worse. Yeah, but it will stack. His power damage will be, his power will work. So you're so fucking stupid that you need them to say this is a big nerf so that you know whether or not to keep using the card. What do you only use buffed cards and you get rid of any nerfed cards? So if you see nerf next to the card, you never fucking use it, even though you can't even fathom what the fucking change is. You can't even wrap it around your fucking head what the change means. And you fucking bold it, you put it, and you still don't fucking get it. You spend all this time and all this little shit, you bold it, you make it red, you make it green, and you don't even fucking understand it. You don't even understand it. Oh my god. That is fucking hilarious. Furthermore, her aggro will be affected by this, and her best trait was no units could sneak past her. I don't think her aggro is going to be affected as much. Because your aggro range is still about the same, right? Even if you bring an AoE buff card out, that's another card you need to use to make one of the least used cards usable. No attack or health buff to even it out. I don't think it needs to be even out, though. That's what I understand. I don't think they're understanding what's happening. People always make fun of me for being the only Nelly user. That's how bad of a card she is, the whole community. And you think, I mean, it's not a nerf, though. It's just not. If they truly thought, it was a nerf, they would have upgraded her attack, like you said. Because every time they're doing something, they're changing stuff. They're getting smart about that. I love all these balance changes and think they're great. As someone who runs level 5 Inuit, I actually really like this change because now he's a skill card that can help with a chip deck, which is what Adventure is anyway. I really don't know how Pope Call Girl still got to be a thing though. Also, balance changes aren't only buffs nerfs. Some of these changes, like to Nelly, aren't to nerf them, but to make them play as intended. Right. Some units can't even hit those units because they're attacking before the unit is even close. Exactly. It was better without nerfs last 2 months. What a loser. Let me guess. Why are they doing this to Inuit Kenny? Probably because too many people don't bother leveling up. Yeah. Makes sense to me. As someone said earlier, what about Call Girl? Yeah, well, I mean, saying it in the forum every week isn't going to actually help. Like, these people think, oh, if I just say this over and over again. But, like, spite is an emotion that exists. And if I'm somebody like a developer, or if I'm somebody like Toller, and I see some fucking dipshit post the same exact thing in the forum post every single week, he posts the same exact copy and paste thing, I am going to make it a point to not fucking do anything on his list. Even if I want to, I will make it a point not to, because fuck that guy. Fuck him for thinking that he can fucking dictate what we do. Fuck him. And that is why you don't do shit like that. You don't do catty bullshit like post the same fucking post every week thinking that that's going to somehow matter. What a dick. It's a needed balance. Kenny's instant kill is massive and out of proportion to his unit cost. I agree. And now that he can damage New Kid, the go-to counter will be choosing to sacrifice a unit or take the hit instead of just zapping him and taking no action. Yeah, that's going to be... I love that change. I love it. I mean, how many times have I been sitting there and Inuit gets smoked and I'm like, God damn it, I wish he did 100 damage to New Kid. God damn it, I wish he did 100 damage to New Kid. I've thought that so many fucking times. I love this shit. Bump? What'd you just bump? You bumped yourself? Oh, Irish, this is the guy you were talking about. I don't and most definitely won't be using Nelly now. If you didn't use it before, you wouldn't use it now. If you're using it before, you're not gonna change. You're not gonna change. We did say years ago that it would be great if a leveled Inuit could take a bar if New Kid killed. Yeah, dude, I've been saying that for so long. I mean, I never thought it should take a bar, but I thought 100 damage is a good amount. If you get the kill on the Inuit, 100 damage seems pretty fair. Good question. And as an alternate to this complicated balance issue, you could set the buff at 30 seconds and all bonuses are removed of Jimbo death. But what is Jimbo's attack speed? 1.9. Can anybody explain how a card attack can be increased in amount and frequency, yet the DPS stays the same? Because if you read, and granted his name is really stoned, so I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt here. But the time between attacks being increased means it's slower, and that increase means it's higher, so they balance each other out. An increase in attack of 33% and a decrease in speed by 33% ends up being the same DPS. Actually, I don't think that's necessarily true. But either way. Increased time between attacks is a nerf that offsets the increase. Thanks, Max. Damn, they got some confusing wording this week. Why not just say the attack speed has been decreased? Because for me to say, because the exact fucking reason I said earlier, because when I think attack speed increase or decrease, some people think of it opposite. Some people think of attack speed as how quickly they attack. Some people think of attack speed as how slowly they attack. So it's very like League of Legends gives you the per second attack. That's what it actually is. And that's what this is. It's the per second attack. And that's different than an attack speed necessarily, you know? Because you could have an attack speed of like 2, but it doesn't actually mean every 2 seconds. It's just that's the game's attack speed metric. So to be specific about it and say this is the time between attacks, and like you cannot possibly misinterpret that unless you have an IQ of 70, but that's fine. Hits per second is a good way to do it. Yeah, hits per second is a great way to do it. Also referring to Inuit's Death Wish as power damage when the card itself only mentioned that it kills the enemy who kills it without any further explanation is weird. Dude, this is just like common sense. This is just like people with just like the absolute lack of any logical reasoning. Clearly, even though Inuit killed everything, clearly he had a value to his damage. Clearly. That's it. That's all it was. It wasn't kill anything indiscriminately. It was do 10,000 damage, which killed anything indiscriminately because nothing has anywhere near that attack or that health. But for them to show that instantly means that it had a value. So what the fuck? What? Where else does your mind go from there? To think like, it had a, it doesn't work. How is it gonna work now? It doesn't just kill the unit. It does damage to the unit. Well, what is it? How am I gonna use that now? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What? Would it be possible in the future to add some thoughts behind the changes? I think it would be useful for every party involved. Just some words about the mechanics, some thoughts about the desired effects, how it'll affect gameplay and stuff like that. Nothing special. Okay, I agree with that because other games that I play, even though their balance changes are fucking terrible, they will say like, this card seemed to be underperforming, and we noticed that if we change this, then maybe it'll add some time to it. Or this card, when you like the Mosquito change is more like this card when you got an attack boost on the Mosquito, it did too much damage overall because it just had too much of an attack speed. So we lowered the attack speed of that, because when you have cards like Visitors and Mosquitoes and cards that play multiple units down, and then you have cards like Ninja that boost every fucking unit for 6 energy, I can have 4 units out there, which is an impossibility in any other, like, you cannot, there's no situation where you can use 6 energy and get 4 units, unless it's like rats or like a swarm like that. But like a kind of big usable unit, those are the only 2 options, right? And if you get Ninja on those, like, that's so much value, just because there's the second body that Ninja gets doubled, tripled, quadrupled, whatever. And so, yeah, you just say like little stuff like that, the little nuances to it, so that I don't fucking have to explain it to everybody. Yeah, the other games do that for sure, and that would be something interesting. I was confused too when I read it the first time. That Inuit does 10,000 damage was news to me as well. So yeah, I mean, who cares? Who cares? Like, this is like people arguing about what you call something when it doesn't fucking matter what you call it. Like a couple of the managers at work always are talking like, oh, if we were agile, but we're not agile. If we were waterfall, or if we were avalanche, but we're waterfall. But it's like, who fucking cares what we call it? Who fucking cares what it's called? It doesn't matter what it's called. It doesn't impact anything what it's called. So whether or not Inuit did 10,000 damage or just killed the unit, who fucking cares? What does that matter? Would it have made more sense to you if it said Inuit no longer kills the unit, instead it'll do 500 damage? How's that any different? How's that any different? I disagreed though, Quad, because just because you're a content creator doesn't mean you know the game. That's a misnomer. Absolutely, that's not true. You could play the game every day and not know shit about it. There's people who play the game to locker limit every day that I bet have no idea what aggro range is. For sure. 1000%. They have no idea where their man bear pig follows people around. Everyone realizes the devs are trolling you, right? The only superhero card the community asked to be nerfed was... I hate that shit. It does not have to be asked to be changed to be changed. We are not the arbiters of their fucking code or their direction. And in no way, shape, or form could we ever actually give them good information. This is why they don't go off of our fucking opinion, because the opinions that they're going to get are the 30 fucking dipshits that are on the forum right now. The opinions they're gonna get are the people on Discord that care enough to complain. They're not the people that are saying like, oh, these cards are good, or like, oh, this is good or great. It's the people that hate it. It's fucking it's survey bias. All you're gonna get is the people like these cocks that are so mad that they have to come onto the forum post, make a fucking account, and post their first thing to say, Inuit sucks. Inuits rip Inuit. It doesn't make any sense. Like, if I had my way, no fucking removal would exist. Nothing. No transmog. No Leanne. No cock magic. Nothing. No unholy. Nothing. Doesn't exist. You get lightning bolt. You get other things like it. You get other spells that do damage. You do shit like a toxic poison that increases the damage that they take. You do all sorts of shit like that, but you do not fucking include a card that just gets rid of a fucking card. No game that I play has anything even near that. The closest thing is in World War II. There's a card called Transmo Ray, and it turns the unit into a big fucking purple blob, but that purple blob still has all the health that other unit has, and you have to kill it before it, like a certain time frame, or else it just turns back into the unit. So you don't just click a button and the fucking unit's gone. That is so ridiculous to me, to think that there are units, that is just like so fucking bonkers, because it completely destroys the type of shit that you can do. You can't have a 10 cost card when you have Pope out there. You can't have a 10 cost card when you can call girl, or when you can just remove it for 5 energy. You just can't do it. It's impossible. Even a 7 energy card is borderline unplayable because you got 5 cost cards that can remove it. And 2 energy loss is enough to lose any game against a good guy. So what the fuck were they thinking? And then they add cards like Pope that can just bring a whole fucking card back, which completely ruins the whole idea of the game, where the cards don't fucking go into your cycle until they're dead. So you should be able to deal with them separately, where every other game that I play, after I play a unit, it goes into cycle immediately, and I could play that unit again if it doesn't die. And those games, you can cycle, and you can have multiple units, and it doesn't matter. But this game, the game where you can't do that, they let you bring people back to life and let you circumvent the whole fucking idea of the cycle. It is so... They changed it from random cycle for a fucking reason. But then you can circumvent it by bringing them back with Pope. It's the dumbest shit ever. If I have Man Bear Pig, I put 1 fucking removal card in my deck, and then he can just bring it back? I can't play a fucking mirror card and play my spell again. Which would be a great card, a mirror card that plays the last card you played plus 1 energy. But you can't do that in this game because you can't play multiple cards at once. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. You should have cards that have the ability to be played multiple times. Like add generic units that you could play multiple times. You know, like the PvE kind of units, right? All right, this is so long. Anyway, I also wonder if Inuit's ability will still be considered a death wish. Of course it was. Of course it was. Mind control effect on Castle Defender. Yeah, that's definitely a bug they need to fix. That is terrible. So 1 less counter to my slightly weaker Man Bear Pig. Good. He's not slightly weaker though. I don't actually think. I mean, he's less strong against certain cards. Like Witch Doctor can deal with him a little bit easier. Towley can actually slow him. That was one problem. Towley's range didn't hit him. So he was never slowed by Towley. Yeah, a lot of units could never attack Man Bear Pig because he would start attacking them, and he has enough knockback where they wouldn't get into the range. That was a big problem. Huge problem. All right. It took us an hour and 12 minutes. So there's a part of me that's kind of happy I had those internet issues. Because, like, if I would have done that together with the other part, it would have been, like, so long. Like yesterday, I guess, too. Because if this would have been there yesterday, we would have had that with yesterday's update. Oh, that would have been a nightmare. It would have been, like, a 4-hour update. I'd love a longer Call Girl animation. Yes, I agree. Call Girl animation should be the exact same time as Pope instead of being as quick as fucking Dar is. Dar should be a little faster, in my opinion. And then Pope's fine. Pope's is like the perfect level. You can fireball snipe him, you can transmog snipe him, and you can unholy snipe him. You can do it all. You can fucking snipe him with Stand of Many Moons if you have it charged. So that is the exact time that all war cries should be. Like, no war cry should be sooner than that. There's not a single fucking war cry that I shouldn't be able to transmog. She gets misplayed half the time. Yeah, I had a game against like Bryson yesterday where I had a bunch of gizmos on his Medusa and he went to dar it and he missed it. And it's like, how do you think you're gonna beat fucking gizmos killing your Medusa? Not possible. Faster dar animation. Yeah, just because she's so easy to fuck it up now. And it's not technically the player's fault sometimes, because it's like, I played the card at this point, but the game didn't play it quick enough. You know what I mean? Not that the card's animation didn't go off, but the card actually didn't like fucking play. You know what I mean? Where like you put the card out and it just like waits a little bit before it plays the card. You see that with Unholy sometimes. Like, it's just the weirdest fucking thing sometimes, but oh well, it is what it is. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. It's 12 o'clock. I didn't get a chance to play South Park really at all, so I didn't get to get these fucking cheesy poofs, but I'll play a little bit. I'll play a little bit before I go to bed on the main account because I need to get the Mysterion, but I appreciate you guys stopping by and sticking around. Apologize for the internet problems earlier, but hopefully what that guy did will fix it. We went on an hour and 23 minutes with not a single dropped frame, which is pretty good. I usually have a couple, but we'll see how it works out. I might try to stream something tomorrow too, because he's gonna give me a call back Thursday, and I kind of want to have more, more test for him. So I might try an hour or two tomorrow, or I guess I could just test it tomorrow. But anyway, make up for a little bit, do some of the event or something like that. But either way, I'm going to put this on YouTube as well so that other people can get our thoughts on the updates. Narita, thanks for the biddies. And then hopefully people can watch this and get more of an idea of like what actually was changed, because I think a lot of people are misinformed, or just not misinformed, like they didn't tell us that much, but I think as someone, I think we can extrapolate, as people who've been playing the game for a long time, I think we can extrapolate. Quadriplegic with 12, 512, 512, 420. Appreciate you guys. Yes, I killed everything. The bot is dead. I'll give you guys some buckets later. But we'll see you guys. Have a good one. Have a good night, and we will see you possibly tomorrow. But otherwise, be on the lookout Saturday, Sunday. The typical, the huge. All right, bye.